I got game, going insane, MVP, Hall of Fame, I smash straight, call me Dame, gonna get back, make it rain.
What's going on, Stin Nation? It's Stinsation, and one day I was just enjoying my day, until I saw these memes about Debbie saying that she was bad at acting, and I was just thinking like, nah, that's not true because I liked Jessie, and that was like kind of because of her. So I decided to rewatch Jessie because of that, but also because it's next on the list. So let's talk about it. All right, so the series was in New York, like New York City, where the Knicks play, not Brooklyn. Funny thing is, I don't even think that the Nets or Brooklyn were even mentioned in this series at all. Nets fans acting like they was always relevant because they might win a championship this year, but whatever. Anyways, the show was about a girl, a woman named Jessie Prescott. She was from Texas, grew up on a military base. Her dad wanted her to have a career in that field, but she wanted to move to New York and go all in on an acting career. You see, when she was moving to New York, she actually got thrown out of a taxi because she had insufficient funds. While she was gathering up her stuff, we got to meet a few folks like Tony, doorman, potential love interest, and Zuri, little kid that asked a random person that got thrown out of a cab to be their nanny. Weird, but Jessie agreed and thought that it was going to be an easy job until she met the other members of the Ross family. Emma, fashion head, kind of an airhead sometimes. Luke, irresponsible guy, kind of an airhead just like Emma. Ravi, smart guy, voice of reason. It's also worth mentioning that Ravi had a pet water monitor, Mrs. Kipling. You gotta watch the show. Also, the family had a butler, Bertram. He was the most strictest and most professional butler ever. Nah, he was just a couch potato. You see, she got off to a shaky start, but she eventually ended up winning over the kids and their parents. And since the parents were like these rich and famous folks, then they couldn't spend time with the kids, so they hired Jessie to spend time with them, and that's how she became the nanny. So she got to stay in New York and take care of the Ross kids while also going after her acting career, and that's basically what the series was about. I thought that Jessie had a nice premise to base a show around, and it was unique. I mean, think about it. In almost every Disney Channel sitcom like That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, Wizards of Waverly Place, just look at almost everything. It usually centers around a 13 to 15-year-old kid, and by the end of the show, they're bordering on adulthood or they're just flat out an adult. We're seeing everything through the eyes of a typical high school teenager. But Jessie actually did something different. Jessie was 18, and sure, that's closer to a kid than it is to an adult, but she was still a young adult, and we got a different perspective. And that opened the door for more topics to be explored, like employment, like an actual career, and possible marriage. Stuff that really can't be explored when your main character is a high school teenager. Having a unique lead character like Jessie is kind of what saved this show from being just like every other Disney Channel sitcom. The only thing that I'll say about Jessie is that she didn't feel like she was 18, and in the later seasons, she didn't feel like she was, early 20s. She dressed and acted like she was in her mid 20s, and as a kid, I always thought that she was. I definitely wouldn't expect an 18-year-old out of high school to be a responsible nanny and have that much knowledge of the world. I would have thought that an 18-year-old would be lost and clueless, especially in the Big Apple. But I guess the reason why she was kind of mature for her age was because of her military background, so I guess it makes sense. So we got to see things through the lenses of a young adult. But it's not like the series just got bogged down with Jessie and her adult stuff, because the kids actually got a lot of focus. Their school life wasn't fleshed out a lot, but at least they still went to school. It still got a decent amount of focus. Hey, one of the school episodes was the main reason why Jessie got the nanny gig. Also, when they weren't at school, they just had good interactions with Jessie and Bertram. I think they did a good job of not making Jessie feel like a mom. She was more of a guardian. They got along well with Jessie, which is actually kind of sad in a way because Zuri and Jessie look like they just loved each other. But apparently, behind the scenes, there was some drama. Apparently, Debbie bullied Sky, and here's what I'll say about that. No one backed Sky up when she came out with the allegations. but I don't see Debbie as just this overly nice person that like just never does anything wrong. She seems like an averagely nice person, just nice enough to stay out of drama. So I wouldn't put that like past her, but like there's no evidence of anything. Plus, they seem to have gotten over it. They look kind of happy in that Zoom reunion. But going back to the characters and the premise, it was great that the show wasn't so caught up in the premise. I liked that there were fun episodes, and I liked that there were episodes focused on every character instead of just having the whole show be about Jessie. So yeah, good job with the unique and original premise. The main thing that I liked about Jessie is that it was consistently a good show. Now this could change because I plan on rating all of the episodes, but in Jessie, I never saw a drop off or an increase in quality. If I compare it to something like Wizards, then I feel like in the first and second season, they were kind of, just working things out. And by season 3, the show actually became Wizards of Waverly Place. Like they had to work up to that. But in Jessie, I feel like it was Jessie like right out of the gate. Also, I never saw something like where the first 1 or 2 seasons were good, but then by the 3rd season, the characters just got flanderized and the plots became random. This was actually a fairly consistent show for the whole way through, but I guess one thing about the consistency of this show is that it might have struggled from it. Like I said, this series was consistent, but they were cranking out consistently good, consistently great episodes. I don't think that I saw anything excellent or iconic from this show. First off, Jessie did not get a Disney Channel original movie. Good Luck Charlie was the last TV show series to get one. So even though it's not an episode, like not having an iconic movie kind of hurt this show. Also, the crossovers weren't cutting it, and while we're on that, let's talk about them. Good Luck Charlie one, just PJ and Teddy there, not a mega crossover with everyone there. First part was a Good Luck Charlie episode dominated by PJ and Teddy. The second part was a Jessie episode dominated by the Jessie cast, so yeah. Liv and Maddie crossover, no Dove Cameron, so that's a deal breaker. So by default, I think that the best crossover was the New Year's Eve one with Austin and Ally because they had everyone in it. Also, speaking of Austin and Ally, that show was kind of like in the Fab Four of Disney shows that came out around the same time and were like some of the most played shows on Disney. Good Luck Charlie, Jessie, Austin and Ally, and Shake It Up. I haven't rewatched Austin and Ally and Shake It Up yet, but it's kind of a shame that we never got a mega crossover. Actually, it's kind of a shame that no one show crossed over with all of them. The Good Luck Charlie saw the Jessies and the Shake It Ups, but they never saw the Austin and Allys. The Jessies saw the Good Luck Charlies and the Austin and Allys, but they never saw the Shake It Ups. And I believe that the Austin and Allys were only able to see the Jessies, and the Shake It Ups were only able to see the Good Luck Charlies. So not only did we not get something like That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana or Wizards on Deck with Hannah Montana, like something close to a mega crossover, we didn't even get memorable individual crossovers. And going back to Jessie not really having iconic episodes, I just saw that as a missed opportunity to have an iconic episode. Like in Wizards, the Wizards versus series and all the other 2-part episodes were excellent episodes. But in Jessie, the 2-part episodes and the Christmas and Halloween episodes were highlights, but there was nothing groundbreaking. Out of a 26 episode season, I would say that Jessie would probably have 12 great episodes, 12 good episodes, and maybe 1 or 2 duds here and there. Come on, the series had 100 or so episodes. It's understandable that some episodes weren't as enjoyable as others. They were bound to make 10 or so episodes where they just threw in the towel, and that's the problem with going towards the 100 episode mark. And because of that consistency, like I kind of got bored at the end, like the final 10 episodes. I'm not gonna say that season 4 was bad, but it was kind of predictable. Spoiler, there wasn't any like story arc or like build up to the finale. So considering that I knew that the episodes were gonna be like one-offs, then I just coasted to the finale. Like they weren't bad episodes, like I would watch them if I had nothing going on, but during a binge watch, like nah, after watching the show for like a week, I was just itching to like watch the finale, just get the series done. And that's not a Jessie problem, that's really just a problem with shows that reach that 100 episode mark. But overall, like I said, these were consistently good to great episodes. I guess we're going to talk about casting. This series right here just makes everyone that says Debbie's bad at acting look like a clown. I ain't saying that she was carrying the show, because this was like one of the first times where I thought that everyone in the cast kind of contributed equally. But she did good as the lead of this show, especially for being an adult. Just seeing her on The Sweet Life on Deck, like, I liked her, but it was obvious that she could use some work. But near the end of that show, she got better. So much so that she actually got a show made for her. Yep, a lot of folks don't know that Jessie was actually made to showcase Debbie's talent, and it did just that. It showed off her acting talent, but it didn't really show off her singing talent like that. And I was actually kind of confused, because back in the day, I thought that she was a really good singer just hearing the theme song. But it turned out that a good amount of those performances that she got in the show were auto-tune. I feel like the term average singer is just thrown around loosely, like everyone's an average singer. But nah, I feel like Debbie was actually an average singer, and like there was nothing wrong with that. She was good, but she wasn't amazing. So I liked that they didn't make this show about showcasing her singing, and they just stuck to the acting. But I will say that Texas Guys slapped, especially when she wasn't using the auto-tune, and I wish that there would have been a full version of that song. Other than that, can we talk about the fact that she was an actress, director, and producer on the show? Some folks get shows made for them, and sure, they get told that it's their show, but honestly, nah, they're just the star of the show. But Debbie could legitimately call Jessie her show if she wanted to, because she did so much for the show, and she should get more credit for being a triple threat. But it's good that she's not self-centered, and she gives everyone credit for making the show so great. But yeah, that's enough about her. And for the rest of the cast, I don't really have that much to say about them. Good performances all around. Some folks don't know, but Karen and Peyton actually came from the Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies. I think that they would have got the role anyways, but being in those movies kind of made it hard to like choose someone else. But yeah, they were stars in this show. Sky was a star, Kevin was a star, Cameron was a star, rest in peace. But I just like how this cast was perfect, like even the actors that had supporting roles. This may have been a star vehicle for Debbie, but when you look at the show, then like everyone kind of got equal screen time. Everyone chipped in, and they get an equal amount of credit for this show's success. Final thoughts: Jessie was one of Disney Channel's best shows. It took a different approach and based the show around a high school graduate, which was something like kind of new at the time, and it taught good lessons. But I think that the most important lesson that it taught was to follow your dreams, and as cheesy as that sounds, like it's actually true. Not gonna spoil the finale, but in the end, Jessie got what she wanted, and she never would have been in that position if she just listened to her parent and did what he wanted. You're only on this earth for a limited amount of time. The first 18 years you spend it living under someone else's roof, under their rules. But when you're 18, you're an adult, so you better live that life how you want to live it. That's the most important thing that I learned from Jessie. And because of that, I think that this is one of Disney Channel's best shows that they've ever made. But unfortunately, it gets overshadowed by overrated shows. Disney obviously saw Debbie as a star, like she was in a lot of stuff. But Radio Rebel is kind of forgettable, and the only time that it's really talked about is like for the memes. She was on The Sweet Life on Deck and the movie, but first off, that really wasn't her show. That was the Sprouse Twins show. Like, they get remembered for it. Also, The Sweet Life on Deck gets remembered for being a bad spin-off, so yeah. And when you look at 16 Wishes, like, it wasn't a DCOM, but it got released in 2010, like, not really the best year for DCOMs. Then Jessie, what was supposed to be her big break, was a good show. But everyone likes the other characters more and say that Luke, Ravi, and Zuri, and occasionally Bertram carried the show. And yeah, it had 4 seasons, but it's kind of forgotten because there were bigger shows that came before it, and it was kind of competing with a more successful show. And Zendaya was on the network, and I know that folks say that Shake It Up was bad, but like I said, Zendaya was in it. That adds a whole bunch of value to that show. In the early 2010s is kind of remembered as that era where Disney started to go downhill. Also, kind of unrelated, but this show and Bunt kind of take up almost half of Disney Channel's schedule nowadays, so I guess that could be a reason why it gets a lot of hate. But I think that it's time to wake up and realize that Jessie was actually a good show. I'm not going to say that this was Disney's last good show, because honestly, I checked out in 2014. That era of Liv and Maddie, Girl Meets World, How to Build a Better Boy, Zapped. Like, I just tuned out and never watched Disney Channel like ever again. So I can't say that this was one of Disney's last good shows because I haven't even watched the newer shows. But what I can say is that this is one of the last Disney Channel shows that I enjoyed. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Good comedy, good lessons, good show. This is a show that I'll rewatch, and confirming right here, there's going to be Jessie videos because this is a show that actually had enough content in there to make, like, you know, some more videos. This is a series that I would consider owning a DVD copy of, like, if they made them, because I was looking for them and like they didn't have them. I couldn't find it. Like, hey, streaming services are hot right now, but one day they're gonna close down, and a DVD is forever. And especially as a 2000s kid, I like having all my movies and shows on DVD. So yeah. But alright, that's gonna be the vid. My name's Stinsation, and we're out of here. Peace.
Some way, some way, some way.